Welcome to the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Tuesday, February 14th. Ian Cameron and Conor Mack ready to break down the Tuesday slate. It is a major conference type of day of the week, usually. A lot of big conferences in action. So that is where our focus will be with the marquee games. And we'll begin with Georgetown and Seton Hall in the Big East. We've got Seton Hall right now about a 12-point home favorite here in this game. The total currently in the 137.5 to 138 range here in this game. You look at the point spread here. Georgetown's been a point spread covering machine lately. They haven't been doing much winning, but when you're constantly dogs in this kind of price range, winning isn't the thing. It's, can you hang around? Can you be competitive? And can you hang inside these big numbers? And Georgetown's been doing that. 7-1 ATS, their last 8 games coming into tonight. That streak got snapped at home against Marquette in their last game, losing 89-75. But for the most part, though, Georgetown has been a pretty competitive team. They lost to they lost to Seton Hall, rather, 66-51 at home to Seton Hall back on January the 10th. But I do like Georgetown a little bit here, catching this many points. If you look at Seton Hall, they're off back-to-back losses against Villanova and Creighton. And when they win games, they haven't always been doing a great job winning by massive margins. 5-point win against DePaul, 11-point win against St. John's, 1-point win against UConn, another 4-point win against DePaul. You know, Seton Hall is not typically that, I want to lay 11.5 points with them kind of basketball team. So I think Georgetown would be the only way I could look at this current number. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Even though this is a really good spot for Seton Hall back at home, probably to get a good win. I don't want to lay 11.5 with them. Shit. Not a team that scores like that, even though they should have some success against Georgetown. Georgetown just didn't cover, I think, on the weekend, but like you said, I think they've been covered 4 of 6. I'd look at this total a little bit to the under. These teams have played pretty consistent. As much as Georgetown has scored, especially over the last few years, these games have been under. You talked about the 66-51 game earlier. It's not crazy here, 138, but I'd be on the under.
All right, leaning under here in this one for Conor. All right, SEC, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, South Kakalaki. 5-point home underdogs. Vandy favored by 5 on the road here, 139 the total. I think South Carolina might be worth a look here. It was a close game in the first meeting. It was a win in overtime for Vanderbilt, revenge spot for South Carolina. Vanderbilt on the road. Do we trust them here coming off the road win against Florida? Is there a letdown here? Because they've notched really impressive back-to-back road wins against Tennessee at home, that buzzer beater last week, and then going on the road against Florida as 8.5-point dogs and beating the Florida Gators outright, 88-80. But man, if there's ever a flat spot, this is it for Vanderbilt, coming off 2 big wins like that. South Carolina, they've covered 4 of their last 5. They've been a little bit more competitive lately. 2-point loss to Arkansas, spread covering loss to Missouri. They won outright as dogs against Ole Miss, 64-61. In their last game. So they've been a little bit better. They've been better defensively, which has been a huge problem earlier in the season for the Gamecocks. So situationally, it's definitely a spot that screams South Carolina. I kind of like them a little bit. Smaller bet because we are talking about a team that struggled, but I don't know how in this spot you'd be rushing to lay the points with Vanderbilt. It does feel like a massive, sleepwalk spot coming off 2 huge wins. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, it does. I just wish I could trust South Carolina. When are they going to play? I mean, dogs at home, you think this would be it? Vandy's just impressed. I thought everyone thought the big win there, they can't go to Florida. Florida needs this game. These teams got to perform in these spots. We always talk about. Laid another 8, gave up 88. I was shocked. Defense is where's that gone for Florida? That was so good. Who knows? But I lean under in this game. I think the total's a little bit too high, and I'd stay off the side. South Carolina home, maybe they shoot a little bit better because they're not very good. Horrible free throw shooting team here, but I'll be off.
All right, nothing wrong with that. Next up, we go to Notre Dame and Duke. We've got Duke 12-point home favorites, 11.5 in some spots, 140.5 the total. I got to take Notre Dame here just because of where the number is. I have no confidence at all in Duke laying a number like this. None, zero, none at all. Look, I understand that Duke has got a gripe for what happened at the end of the Virginia game. They did kind of get hosed, did kind of get screwed at the end in that game. It ends up going to overtime. And then once that game goes to overtime, if you bet Duke in that game, you know what's going to happen. You know they ain't going to cover. And sure enough, Virginia does get the win and the cover. I'll tell you, I'm lucky as shit because I was on Virginia there. I'll take it. But
were you? They blew the whistle. I mean, that was 2.2 left.
Yeah.
That should have been. That was fucked.
It was. That was bad. I mean, Duke deserved better. And I'm not going to ever shed any tears for Duke because I don't really like them all that much, but nobody does. A lot of people don't. But, at the end of the day, that was still, they deserved better than that. They did get hosed. They are going to be in an angry mood, probably back home after 2 losses on the road to Miami and Virginia. But, even in these home wins, 6-point win against North Carolina, 2-point win against Wake, 2-point win against Miami, 8-point win against Pitt at home. Those are all at Cameron Indoor. Those are all at home. None of those wins by double digits. So you're laying a big number here. I know it's Notre Dame. I know they've been pretty bad, but they have been competitive the last 2 losses. 2-point loss at Georgia Tech, 6-point loss to Virginia Tech. They were in both games. There's no way I could lay this number with Duke. So a priori, it's either Notre Dame or leave it alone. What do you think, Connor?
Duke always better at home. But team shoots like this, I don't want to lay a number, even with them home, where they could maybe cover this. I'm not going to do it. I wanted to touch on the total here. Duke has just been super slow. They bring up the ball, everything's so slow. I think they need to try to speed it up a little bit. The flip side, Notre Dame, over City, which you've probably been on, Babano. And this first meeting, nothing dropped. Remember this game, or last year, sorry. I was on this game. That's how bad I remember it. That 57-43 game. I think I had the over in that game last year. It was ugly. For some reason, I think the game could get over here. Notre Dame just not playing any defense. Duke needs like a good game where they score 75 points. It seems like it's just been a long time since they're, hit a bunch of shots. So with this total, I'd look over here.
All right, looking at the over here with Notre Dame and Duke in this one for Connor Mack. All right, NC State, Syracuse. Speaking of overs, this is an over I like. We've got Syracuse pick 'em -1, 148.5 the total. Yeah, that's the bet for me, over. If you look at it, Syracuse trending over, NC State trending over. Head-to-head between these two teams is trended over the total. What do they have, 89-82? In the first meeting, 171 points between these two teams. Syracuse won at NC State. I kind of like NC State in a revenge spot here. I mean, it's not like that, even for playing in a big venue like it used to be the Carrier Dome. Now it's sponsored by someone else. But playing in a big venue like that, it's not like Syracuse has been ever dominant at home. They lose there too. I definitely think the NC State side might be worth a look here. Again, we have that angle as well, the home favorite losing outright, which was the case with NC State losing to Syracuse at home earlier this year, and now they're a road dog in the rematch, albeit only a 1-point road dog, but still a road dog, and that angle is cashed a lot in college basketball in the revenge angle. So I lean NC State. Maybe I get there with a small bet on the money line on the Wolfpack, but the over's the better look to me. I like it. I think we see points. What do you think, Connor?
I think all around NC State's just a little bit better. I like them early on. I've tried to stay off. They played pretty good on the road, and they've blown out teams. They can flat score. That's why, as long as this come down the total a little bit, it's 140s. I guess it's pretty sharp. We're not in the 150s. I think it can get over too. Syracuse shoots it better. Like you said, NC State 79 points. They average. Syracuse 75. Okay defenses. And NC State's been more of an under team, but I'd lean this over as well. And I think there could be a little revenge. As much as I like Syracuse at home, if I had to, I'd take the Wolfpack.
All right, we've got Illinois and Penn State now here in the Big Ten. Illinois, 3.5-point road favorites. Total in this game currently at 140 across the board. Penn State getting the win at Illinois back in December, 74-59. It was a 15-point win at Champaign for this Penn State team. So it's very impressive they were in victory in that game. See how they fare here, though, against Penn State in this one. You look at last year when these teams played at Penn State, or did they play at Penn State last year? I'm looking. I don't think they did, actually.
No.
Oh, no, they did, but it was earlier.
It
was in December. It was 98-81 for Illinois. I kind of think Illinois is the right side here. I mean, that was one of their worst losses in Big Ten play, maybe outside of the home loss to Indiana. Other than that, I don't know if they had a worse loss than that game against Penn State at home, no less. I think they remember that. It's not like Penn State's playing well right now. They've lost 4 in a row, failed to cover in 3 of those games. The offense has really stagnated. 68 points or less in 3 of the last 4 games. When you're losing at home to Wisconsin, you've got issues, and we're seeing that right now with Penn State. So I think the revenge angle, I think Penn State struggling. I think Illinois in a great run right now. The price is cheap enough to me to lay it with Illinois. So I like Illinois here, 3.5. What do you think, Conor?
This is a tough one. Illinois, you're playing good basketball. You're right with the revenge. I think though, it's just tough to take Penn State. Some of these schools that just rely on the 3 so much, but they are dogs here at home. Just wish I had more confidence in them to take them, which I don't, since they'll be off. Lundy, Pickett, these guys have to have huge games for it. We talk about Illinois though. Road now favorites, got to win by 4 or more. Not a great free throw shooting team. And it seems like a desperate spot for Penn State. Might not win it, but these points might be, might need them here. It might be close.
All right, there we go. All right, next up, we've got, as we continue along, Missouri, Auburn. Auburn 7-point home favorites, 152 the total. I know I don't normally do this when it just, to me, it definitely does scream like a spot for Auburn. And it screams like a fade spot for Missouri, because Missouri's off the incredible win against Tennessee. You got to give Missouri credit. I mean, for that performance against Tennessee. Unbelievable job. What a coaching job this year by behind gates, heaven or hell, mansion or jail. Dennis Gates has been absolutely outstanding here for the Missouri Tigers. Great coaching hire. 19-6 now, the Missouri Tigers this year. They're only 3-4 straight up on the road. And this definitely feels like after the huge win at Tennessee, you're on the road for a second straight game. This is where you maybe get thumped a little bit. But man, Auburn's not playing well. Like their offense, 2 of the games they couldn't shoot straight, Tennessee and Alabama losses. And then the game they did get it going offensively, they crumbled defensively in the A&M loss. So they just have not gotten it together at both ends of the floor. During this recent run. I get it, why people want to bet Auburn, and Auburn's taking the money here. But geez, now that it's up to 7.5, I've got to consider Missouri at least. I mean, this is just out of whack, I think, a little bit. I get it, right? Missouri, a bet against spot off the win against Tennessee, maybe a letdown, but I'm not laying 7 with Auburn. I'm just not doing it. They're not playing well enough to me. So at this number, I'm actually more interested in Missouri than laying the points with this struggling Auburn bunch. What do you think? And I like over a little bit as well. It's kind of trended that way in the series history. What do you think here, Conor?
I know this is losers of 5 of 6 for Auburn. Everything smells just the spot. But why do you want to back a team right now? For me, it's just like stay off this game or take the points with Missouri. All this money's come in Auburn. The excellent spot for them to get it done. I thought they played all right on Saturday against Bama, but lost there, and that line was short. So yeah, I'm off here. If I had to, I would take Missouri. I'd take the 7. They can create their own shot unless Auburn brings some really good defense, which I thought was a little fraudulent, and it shows at times in some games. Some games have been better, but lately they've been getting up some points. So I think Brown and the fellas for Missouri can maybe keep it close.
All right, we continue along. Horrible free throw shooting. That's a great point, Jake. They're not a good free throw shooting team,
True.
Auburn. And when you're going to lay 7, you better be making your bunnies at the free throw
69,
line.
69.
Yeah,
Not great.
Not great at all. So that's a great point there. And that makes it even more dubious to lay this kind of number. All right, next up, as we continue along, we've got Creighton and Providence. What a matchup in the Big East here. One of the better games tonight. We've got Creighton 1.5 point road favorites, 140 the total here in this game. It's a really great matchup. Providence, we know, a feisty, tough, rugged team, well coached. Ed Cooley doing a great job once again. No surprise there. I think they got Bynum back just recently as well from injury. So that definitely helps the Providence case. They have still yet to lose, 13-0 here on their home floor this season. And I've been riding this Creighton team. I've cashed a couple times with them. They're on a terrific 8-game winning streak, and pretty much all they have to do is win here to cover the number. It's not easy to go against a team that's won 8 straight, but at the same time, you're getting 1.5 points here with an undefeated home team. I'm not going against Providence here at home, and especially as a slight dog. I don't love the idea of going heads up against this surging Creighton team because they've got it going. I mean, with Nemhard and with Kalkbrenner, the point guard, and they got the inside-outside balance. The defense has been locked down lately. But Providence has been absolutely terrific at home. I think, too, the reason why they've been installed as a home underdog here is because of the last game they lost at St. John's. It's a bad loss. It is a bad loss for Providence, no question about that. But we know teams sometimes off a bad loss, they come back home, they face a team, that's going to get them fired up. They can bounce back. And this is still a quality team in spite of that bad loss against St. John's. And we see what they've done at home in their step-up-in-class games this year. They had the win against UConn that stands out. They've had some good performances here on their home floor. I'm going to stick with it and go with Providence here, even though Creighton's been good to me in a few spots lately. Not tonight, I think. Not tonight. I'm going to go with Providence here. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, two good teams. Creighton just been on fire winning games. But at the old Dunkin' Donut, whatever they call it now, I forget it. I think it should be
they changed the
packed.
name.
Yeah, I forget what it is. I got to look that up. I saw +2 last night. Give me Ed Cooley at home after the bad game. This could be close, too, this game. Both teams, like I said, shoot the ball well. A lot of this total that I was looking at, their games, especially lately, these teams have kind of been right around it. Not all of them, but near this number or just below it. So I think it could get over. Shooting could be hot, or defense could be a little tough, and it could just stay under. So I'll be off the total, but give me Providence at home.
All right, liking Providence as well here, Connor Mack, in this one. All right, next up, Nebraska, Rutgers. Rutgers, 14-point home favorites, 131.5 the total. I agree with all the money in this game. The money to Rutgers, the money to the over. I agree with both. This has that feel of that Minnesota game where Rutgers is going to put 90 on the board at home against this team. Like Nebraska's collapsed defensively. Remember all that great praise we gave Nebraska improving defense early in the year? Not lately. Yeah. That's out the window. That's dead like the dodo bird. The Nebraska defense right now, that's just nowhere to be found. I think this total is just too low because of how bad the Nebraska defense has been. And Rutgers does shoot and score more at home. We know that. They kind of slow it down and they grind out wins in low-scoring fashion on the road. But at home, this team can put up some numbers. And this reminds me of that Minnesota game, 90-55, where Rutgers clobbered Minnesota and the game went over the total. I think that's what we get here. I like Rutgers first half, Rutgers full game, a split. And I'm also on the over. What do you think, Connor?
I'm off here. Just a big number. Rutgers, I'm not going to go against them at home. They have blown them out. They blew them out last year, I think, even at home. And I think this Rutgers team is a little bit better offensively and just as good or better defensively, especially at the rack. So it is just a bunch of points, but they could win by 20 here easily. I'm just going to be off in the end. I'm not going to mess with the total. It's gone up 3 points. So I'm off there as well.
All right, Butler and Villanova, another Big East matchup. Villanova, 9.5-point home favorites here, and the total sitting at 129 in this one. Definitely, I would lean under the total in this game, and I know it's priced because of how these teams play. They both play slow. Neither team is consistent offensively, but definitely I think we see under here. Under, by the way, 5 straight for Butler. Under has trended 5 of the last 6 for Villanova. As far as the side goes, Butler's off back-to-back home wins. Give them credit. The St. John's win, okay, not a big deal, but to beat Xavier, that's a lot different. That's a good basketball team, and they won 69-67. But here's the issue. Now they're going on the road, and they've just been obliterated. One road game after another. Marquette, Providence, UConn, St. John's, Seton Hall, and even some bad teams have obliterated Butler on the road. Yeah. So I haven't bet Villanova much this year, and thank goodness for that, because it's not the same Villanova. They haven't been a great point spread team this year, but I'm going to lay the points with Nova tonight, 9.5. I'm going to do it. I think they can really bottle up this very limited Butler offense. I think Butler on the road struggles to score way more. They haven't broken 60 points, by the way, Butler on the road in 3 straight road games. That's trouble to me. So I like Nova. I think they can get a double-digit win. Remember, they beat DePaul by doubles in their last home game, 81, or a couple home games ago, 81-65. If they can beat DePaul by 16 at home, they can certainly beat Butler, to me, by at least double digits. So I like the Nova side and would lean under. I think this is I'll tell you what I think the final score will be. I think it's something like 68-54. for Villanova, something like that. 68-54. Villanova covers, game stays under. What do you think here, Connor? Just when he's about to respond, it looks like Cox Gable not treating him kindly. He's back. Hold on. Uh-oh. Poor Connor Mack. We'll get Connor Mack back. But anyway, there you go. 68-54, I think, for Villanova in this game. And like I said, I like the favorite. I'll lean under the total as well. All right, next up, we've got LSU and Georgia. Georgia 4.5-point home favorites, 139 the total. This is one I put on the marquee games because it's obviously a big conference game, but I don't have a strong feel for this one. I mean, you look at these two teams, LSU is really hard to back here. 10 straight losses. They've only covered 1 point spread during that span. Georgia off the big win again. I mean, it'd have to be Georgia if I had to take a side in this one, but then you start to look at Georgia laying points. My goodness. 10.5-point favorites against South Carolina. They won in overtime by 3, and 4-point favorites at home against Vanderbilt. They lost outright. So the couple of rare instances Georgia's been laying points, they haven't been good as of late. So I can't take LSU, and I don't want to lay points with Georgia a whole very much. So easy pass for me in that one. So we can move on. St. John's and DePaul. We've got in this one, St. John's 1.5-point road favorites, 158 the total here. I think this matchup's not a bad one for St. John's. I mean, you're asking a team that's won one road game to win a road game, obviously, but I'd lean a little bit to the Johnnies here in this game. DePaul's just up against it here. They've lost 6 in a row. At least with St. John's, they're off a win against Providence. This team's got some talent to it, St. John's. We know that. We know there's ability here of this St. John's Red Storm team. No question about that. With what they've been able, with what they've got at their disposal, Posh Alexander, Soriano, AJ Storr, Dylan Ade Wusu. There's some talent here. They've underachieved like they usually do under Mike Anderson, but they got to win, and a win against a really good opponent at Providence. Maybe that gets them going here in this matchup against DePaul. DePaul's just really had a tough time. St. John's has dominated DePaul too. The last 2 meetings they have met. I don't want to say I'm in love with this play, but I would look St. John's here just to win the game. You know, they're only favored by 1.5, so take a money line -120. And I like the over here. It's gone up from 156 to 157.5, 158. Should see plenty of points here between the Blue Demons and the Johnnies, the Red Storm. All right, Boston College and Pittsburgh. We've got Pittsburgh 9-point home favorites, 139 the total in this game. Pittsburgh obviously has been a team that's been good to me at times this year. We've kind of stayed off Pitt lately because obviously the value you were getting on the Panthers earlier in the season, you're not getting that so much as of late. But still, it's been a great bounce back turnaround season for this program. I mean, 18-7, strong home record as well. I think they're probably going to be able to take care of business here against this Boston College team. But they've covered 4 in a row. They've won 5 in a row. They've covered 4 of those 5 games, Pitt. So I don't want to step in front of the Panthers here. BC got destroyed by NC State in their last game, 92-62. I think a Pitt team total over makes some sense here. Pitt's lighting it up here, 91-83 in their last 2 games. And don't look now, but this BC defense has fallen apart. 77 allowed to Syracuse, more than 50% shooting. Bad defensive game against Virginia Tech. Horrible defensive game against NC State in their last game. So I think if you look at this matchup, I'd probably prefer Pittsburgh team total rather than the lay in the 9 because you're never quite sure, if they're going to be able to win by enough of a margin in this price range. But the team total, I think they can get over that with Boston College kind of collapsing on defense here the last few games. So the Panthers team total, if I were to look at anything, I'd probably go in that direction for this one. All right, we're still trying to reconnect with Connor Mack, but in the meantime, show must go on. We've got Michigan and Wisconsin, Big Ten. Wisconsin 1-point home favorites, 132 the total in this game. I know this is kind of like the Penn State-Illinois game earlier where I know the home court in Big Ten play has been pretty good. If you've been betting the home teams in the Big Ten, you're cashing more often than not. But who in their right mind thinks Wisconsin's a better team than Michigan right now? I sure don't. I don't trust Wisconsin. It's just been a rough time asking this team to score points. They lose in overtime at Nebraska in their last game. They did get a nice road win at Penn State, but they also lost to Northwestern. They barely beat Ohio State, who are in a rough go. It's just other than 2 wins against Penn State and Ohio State, a win against them, who are really reeling right now. Hard to trust them right now, Wisconsin. And Michigan's starting to play some good basketball. I like what I'm seeing out of the Wolverines. They're playing better, locking in defensively. I thought that was a tough loss for them against Indiana at home, 62-61. But again, Indiana's kind of peaking right now. But, Kobe Buffkin's played better. Jet Howard has stepped up. Defensively, there's been some improvement. Some support finally for the big guy, Hunter Dickinson, for this Michigan team. So, you look at this situation here, and I think this is a spot where I could only look Michigan, even though I know the home teams in the Big Ten usually do pretty well. I don't really love the idea of taking Wisconsin ever as a favorite, especially with them being in their home, especially them being struggling offensively the way they are right now. So Michigan for me, +1, 1.5. A little cautious I'm being with that bet because of the strength of the home courts in the Big Ten, but definitely I think I would go with the Michigan side in that one. Derek in the chat saying Boston College did win against Virginia Tech, but their defense still didn't play well. That is fact. They won that game, but the defense still wasn't very good. That's what I was talking about. The defense hasn't been good for Boston College. They were lucky to win that game because they shot the lights out, but it wasn't because of their defense. So that's why I like the Pitt team total over. That's also why I think it's the better bet than laying the points with Pitt, because Boston College could shoot the lights out tonight. And if they do, they're probably going to cover the number. But I do trust Pitt to score their points. That's why I went to the team total in that game as opposed to -9 on Pitt. All right, let's continue along here. We've got Kansas State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma, it's pretty much a pick 'em here. 140.5 the total. I just think Kansas State's the better team. I do. I mean, Oklahoma's had so many chances to. I thought they were in a great plus spot against Kansas, and they were just totally inferior. 78-55, home loss to Kansas. Look, if I lose this bet, I lose this bet. But 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread for Oklahoma. They just cannot find it easy to score points. They've been held to 61 or fewer 3 of the last 4 games. I know Kansas State's kind of come back down to earth here. 3 of the last 4 games they have lost, but they lost at Kansas. Texas, who's a tough team. Texas Tech in their last game. They did beat TCU at home. I just think in this matchup, Kansas State's still a little bit of a better basketball team than Oklahoma. I can't trust Oklahoma anymore, and I feel bad saying that because I really like Porter Moser as a coach. What great job that he did at Loyola Chicago. There's no question, but I think it's a situation. You look at it here that I think when you look at it here with Kansas State, they have enough offense. Now Michigan's going to want to, or Oklahoma rather, is going to want to slow this down. Make it a half-court game, muck it up. But Kansas State, I think, has got the potential still. If this game's even close at the end, who's going to make a basket for you? Which team are you going to trust to make a big shot for you at a critical juncture in this game? I think it's Kansas State by far. And it's not like Kansas State can't win road games here. So I think when you look at it here, Kansas State near pick'em. And again, the total sitting at 141.5 is one of those totals where I think if you like Kansas State, you probably lean over. And if you like Oklahoma, you have to lean under because they don't want an up and down track meet. Not at all. And they know they can't win that way. So I do like K-State a little bit here to win on the road in this one. All right, next up, Kansas and Oklahoma State. We've got the Jayhawks 1.5-point road favorites, 140 the total. I like Oklahoma State here. We're starting to see Kansas with these road issues again. And it's not like they're the first team that's had these problems, but at Iowa State, they got obliterated. They had that bad loss at Baylor, lost at Kansas State. They did have a road win at Kentucky in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, and they obliterated Oklahoma in their last game on a Saturday. But Oklahoma State's really putting it together right now. 5 straight wins against Missouri, Oklahoma, TCU, Texas Tech, going on the road to Ames, Iowa. And finally, Hilton Magic ran out. I mean, Iowa State's been phenomenal at home. How about Oklahoma State going there to Hilton Coliseum, winning 64-56 in their last game? Was very, very impressive, that game and that performance by the Cowboys. When you look at the previous head-to-head series, I mean, Kansas, they got a battle from Oklahoma State on New Year's Eve at Fog Allen. It was a 2-point win for the Jayhawks, 69-67, but very competitive in defeat were the Cowboys. I like the way they're playing right now. I like the way they're locking in defensively. And we know with Kansas on the road, they can struggle against good defensive teams on the road. Look at that Iowa State game where they shot a miserable 17 of 44 in that loss to the Cyclones. So I think the home dog is the play here. Oklahoma State plus 1.5, plus 2 here at Gallagher-Iba Arena against the Kansas Jayhawks. I like this Oklahoma State number, and I like this spot for them here against Kansas. All right, 2 games left. We've got San Jose, actually just 1 game left in the marquee games, Wyoming and New Mexico. Final game here, New Mexico 10-point home favorites, and the total sitting at 149 across the board. Right away, I gravitate toward a lean to the over when it's a New Mexico game, especially at home. Here's the New Mexico home games. A 77-76 loss to Nevada over the total. 81-73 win against Air Force over the total. Boise State 81-79 in overtime went over the total. UNLV 84-77, it went over the total. Oral Roberts stayed under, but it still got to 157 points in that game, which would get over this number. The only under they've had that stayed below where this total's lined is the game against San Jose State, where it was 77-57. Other than that, every other recent New Mexico home game has gotten at least into the 150s. So I do like this over with Wyoming and New Mexico. Not always easy to trust Wyoming offensively. Look, they're struggling to put the ball in the basket, 64, 59, 63 points in their last 3 games, but they do struggle defensively. So if New Mexico can get themselves into the 80s in this game, all you would need is something like 65 maybe from Wyoming, and you get this game over like 85-65 or 86-65, 86-68, something like that. That's kind of what I think this score is going to end up being here in this matchup. So, I definitely look over the total here, 149. As far as Wyoming goes in terms of the side here, you look at on the road, they've been blown out by double digits 3 straight. I mean, I'd have to lean New Mexico. It's been a real disappointment for Jeff Linder and his crew. I mean, they've had injuries. They haven't had EK all year. It's been a kind of an uneven season for their great guard, Hunter Maldonado. He's had some great games. He's had some porous games. So it's kind of been disappointing what we've seen from them. But I lean home favorite, but the number's right. I'm going to stick to the total here in this one. All right, there we go. Quickly, Q&A. From everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. But briefly, in terms of, I don't know if we'll need Q&A tonight because I think most of the games I'm going to mention that we haven't talked about, I do have some kind of opinion on them. Let's see. Kent State, Western Michigan. Kent State hasn't won a recent meeting against Western Michigan by this point spread. They're laying 11. I mean, the home dog Broncos might be worth a look there. Lean over as well. Southern Illinois, Valpo, lean over in that game for me. Don't really have much on Buffalo, Ohio. Be careful with the over in that game. The total is 160.5, but it's gone over it's gone under rather, in every recent Buffalo, Ohio game. So be careful with the over there, and it is in the 160s. I mean, I had a tough one with Buffalo the other night, Friday night against Kent State at home. I don't want to come back to Ohio's starting to play really good basketball. That win they had in their last game against Akron was extremely impressive. So I'd have to lean to the Bobcats there, 4.5. I like Loyola Chicago in the over against UMass. It's just more of a fade of UMass laying points. I got to think at some point Loyola Chicago's had a terrible year by their standards, but I think they could be undervalued. Starting to see them at least be more competitive. They gave Dayton problems in a recent game. So I like Loyola Chicago there, plus 4.5 against UMass and the over in that game. What else have we got? I like Eastern Michigan again. I've been taking this Eastern Michigan Eagles team lately as dogs. And look, they struggled early in the year. They're getting everybody back together, playing better basketball later in the season. They've covered a bunch of games in a row. Akron has started to finally, hit a little bit of a speed bump here their last couple games. So I like Eastern Michigan there, plus 9.5 against Akron. I've been riding the Eagles as dogs lately. They've been cashing each time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is what I say. I like the over with Northern Illinois and Ball State. I like the over with Miami, Ohio, and Toledo. think I might take the points with Miami, Ohio, too. Toledo's not let's lay 16 with them. Not on the defensive side, they are. So Miami O could stick inside that big number, plus 16. Central Michigan, Bowling Green over the total, I would look in that direction. Air Force, Utah State. I don't know about the full game over because I don't know how much Air Force is going to score, but maybe a Utah State team total over. They could have some success. Air Force at times defensively on the road is not measured up. So I'd look in that direction. And then San Jose State, UNLV, the only other game we haven't talked about. San Jose State, if you actually look at them recently, it's been a little bit better. I mean, they beat Air Force, they beat Wyoming, they beat Utah State outright as home underdogs, 69-64 in their last game. UNLV, lately now when they've been laying points at home, it's been tricky. And sometimes in these games where they're laying the bigger points at home, like the last time they played one of the weaker sisters of the Mountain West against Fresno State when they were 9.5-point favorites in that game, UNLV lost outright. So all I got to say is be a little bit careful. I know they're the better team on paper, UNLV, but what's that smell? It smells like a line that stinks. I kind of lean to the Spartans there, San Jose State plus the points. I mean, usually when it's a weaker team at home, UNLV sometimes kind of plays down. I could see that happening tonight. So I would lean to the San Jose State side there, plus the points. All right, there we go. We've talked about every game now on this Tuesday slate in some form. So hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it. We'll be back to wrap with best bets right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101, and manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping using the promo code PUBSPORTS. We seem to have lost our guy, Conor Mack. It's funny because I was doing my hockey show earlier today with my good friend Alex P. Smith, and his internet went out during the show. So it's not been a good day for anybody doing shows with me from a technology and an internet standpoint today. It's been one of those days, but nevertheless, hold the phone here. What have we got? He is back. Or is he? Oh, you got to be kidding me. My gosh. He ain't back. Oh, my gosh. It's just one of those. It's one of those days. My goodness. All right, Conor. Post your, if you can hear me, Conor, post your best bet on Twitter for people. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get a chance to hear it from the man himself here on the show. But, yeah, post your best bets on Twitter. We'll see Conor Mack back with us tomorrow. My best bet, I have some making up to do. We cashed the NBA show best bet yesterday, but the college one was disappointing. Drexel and Hofstra over. We had that 24-2 angle, and it fell way short of that. So, see if we can regroup, get you a winner tonight. And the winner to me is Oklahoma State +2 against Kansas. I think this is a good bet. I like the way they're playing. They almost beat Kansas at Fog Allen earlier this year. And now they get Kansas at home at Gallagher-Iba and Stillwater. Kansas has had some recent issues and turbulence on the road. A tough defensive-minded team like the Cowboys playing, I think, maybe their best basketball of the entire season right now. Let's go with Oklahoma State here, +2 against Kansas for best bet for this Tuesday college basketball slate. That's a wrap. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. Yeah, that's when you know, Ramon Scott, global warming is a real thing. Like, can't even be guaranteed good weather in Las Vegas day to day now anymore. So there you go. I mean, that tells you how the world's changing. There's no question about that. But thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.